The Ponziani is one of the oldest chess openings in history, a weapon used by masters for centuries. It looks quiet at first, but it quickly transforms into a sharp battleground full of hidden tactics and surprises. Many opponents won't be ready for it, which makes it a dangerous and powerful choice if you know the key ideas behind it. We begin with the move e4, a5, knight to f3, knight to c6, and then c3. The core idea behind this setup is simple but powerful. White aims to establish strong central control and prepare for the key pawn push d4. From this point, black has several common ways to respond. The most typical moves are knight to f6, pawn to d5, or bishop to c5. Each of these choices leads to very different types of positions, so it's important to understand the ideas behind them. Let's break down each one and see what plans white can follow. Let's start by looking at the move knight to f6, where black immediately pressures the central pawn. White responds with d4, taking control of the center. At this point, black has a few options. He can capture on e4, take on d4, or try to defend with a move like d6. If black captures on e4 with the knight, white can push d5, forcing the knight to retreat. The knight can't move to a5 because of a potential b4 trap, and retreating all the way back to b8 would just waste precious time. In practice, most players opt to return the knight to a7. After this, white recaptures the pawn, and the position becomes quite unusual and interesting. Almost all three knights are lined up in the center, creating tactical possibilities and giving white strong central control. Now, take a moment to look at this position. If you were playing black here, what would you do? A natural move that comes to mind is pushing d6, trying to challenge the knight and also opening up the diagonal for the bishop. This is where things start to get really interesting. Here's a broader, more fluid rewrite of that section in the same engaging style. According to the database, nearly 80% of players respond with d6 in this position. And if your opponent does the same, well, things are about to get very uncomfortable for them. Here's why. White begins with bishop to b5 check, immediately putting pressure on black's position. No matter how black tries to respond, the position quickly starts to unravel. For example, if black blocks with bishop to d7, we simply capture. After the recapture, black loses the queen, and white is instantly in a commanding position. Now let's consider a more logical defense. c6. Even this doesn't hold up for long. White can capture the pawn, leaving black with tough choices. If black tries to take the knight, a forced sequence follows. White first captures the rook, then recaptures the knight, and finally picks up the unprotected pawn. After this sequence, white has a decisive advantage, dominating the board both materially and positionally if instead, in that position, black captures the pawn instead of the knight, white recaptures with the knight. After the trades, we get a beautiful three-way fork, and once again white ends up winning a full knight and a pawn, total domination. Now black might try to get tricky here with queen to b6, attacking both the bishop and threatening checkmate on f2. But white has a simple and powerful response. Reposition the knight. This move defends the bishop, blocks the checkmate, and even gives a discovered check to the king. After black blocks, white takes the bishop, forces the king to move, and removes his castling rights. At this point, white is up material, has safer king position, better pawn structure, and more active pieces. In fact, the engine evaluates this at almost +6 for white, a completely crushing advantage. Alright, let's step back and explore more tricks in the Ponziani. We already saw how to crush black if he plays d6, but what if he chooses knight to g6 instead? This is actually the best move for black, since it opens the bishop's diagonal and also offers an exchange of knights. Notice though, our knight isn't defended here. Now, instead of retreating or trying to save the knight, white can set a clever trap. We play bishop to d3, directly attacking black's knight. If he takes our knight, we simply capture his knight in return. But here's where things get interesting. Sometimes black gets ambitious. He realizes he's losing a knight anyway, so he thinks, why not grab this pawn, attack the queen and rook, and open up white's king at the same time? Sounds logical, right? But this is where the trap springs shut. If black gets greedy and captures the pawn, he's already lost. We don't even bother taking his knight. Let him take the queen if he wants. Instead, we capture his knight first. If he grabs our queen, we check his king. He's forced to move, and now the other bishop joins the attack. Suddenly, the king is exposed in the middle of the board, and material doesn't matter anymore. White goes straight for the kill, knight to c4 check, and the king is pushed further out with no safe squares left. The attack is unstoppable. From here, white continues with knight to a3, defending its partner. Notice how dangerous this setup is. Black can't capture our bishop, because then b4 is a clean checkmate, and if he tries to eliminate the pawn instead, bishop to e3 delivers another checkmate on the spot. Black is completely helpless. Any other move he plays simply allows white to capture the queen, and the knight will also fall soon. On top of that, his king is standing out in the open with no protection. This is a hopeless position for black, and white is absolutely winning. Now let's consider a different path. Suppose in this position black realizes his mistake and avoids taking the queen. Instead, he captures the bishop. In that case, white simply takes the knight and emerges a full piece ahead. Still a very comfortable advantage. That's the beauty of this trap. Whichever way black chooses, he ends up in serious trouble. Alright, let's rewind a bit and look at an interesting line from black's perspective. After knight takes, white pushes the pawn forward. The natural instinct for black would be to save the knight, but there is another tricky idea here. Instead of retreating, black can sacrifice the knight and play bishop to c5. If white accepts and captures the knight, black responds with bishop to f2 check. After the king moves, the bishop calmly retreats. In this scenario, white might have a slight material edge, but it comes at a huge cost. His king is exposed in the center, and he's lost the right to castle. This gives black real counterplay and practical chances to turn the tables. It's a sharp and double-edged idea that shows why the Ponziani can get very tactical, very fast. So this is actually something you can try as black against the Ponziani. But now, let's flip it back and explore a few more traps that white has in this opening. Instead of going for an immediate capture, black might decide to play d6, reinforcing the center and adding a defender to the key pawn. One of the most well-known lines from here unfolds like this. White pushes d5, forcing the knight to retreat, and then develops the bishop to g5, applying pressure on the pinned knight. If black becomes greedy and decides to capture the pawn, white has a brilliant tactical idea ready, queen to a forecheck. This move is a fork, simultaneously attacking the king and the knight, and before black can react, the knight is lost. It's a classic Ponziani trap that demonstrates how quickly the opening can turn tactical and punishing for careless play. But what if, in that same position, instead of using the knight, black captures on d4? Well, white calmly pushes the pawn forward to chase the knight, follows it up with queen activity, and finally recaptures the pawn. Material may be equal on the board, but white enjoys a better position with more space and easier development. I'd much rather be white here. So, as you can see, even if black tries to play it safe or smart, white often comes out with a slight edge. Now let's roll back to the starting point of the Ponziani and review what happens after the most popular response, knight to f6. Even if black tries other moves here, like d6 or bishop to c5, white's main plan stays the same. Push for the center with d4 and build strong control. There is, however, one important exception. If black plays d5 right away, the best response is to bring out the queen along the diagonal. This move does several things at once. It defends the central pawn, it pins the knight, and it immediately creates pressure on black's position. From here, white's strategy is clear. Follow up with knight to e5, develop the bishop actively, castle kingside, and then line up the rook on the open e-file. The result is a powerful setup where white not only holds the center but also builds a direct attack on the opponent's position. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, then like and subscribe. See you in the next one.